Camera right now, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Today is Wednesday,
Well, are you-
April 26th, 2006. We are at Orchard Park High School with,
Michael Pikula.
Laura Wakowiak, Jocelyn Bolt.
and we are doing an interview for the Hometown Heroes Project. We are interviewing Mike Pikula, who is a Vietnam War veteran. Okay, girls, have a good time. I'll be back toward the end of the period and learn about life of a soldier during the Vietnam War.
Thank you. Okay, first question is, were you drafted or did you enlist?
Drafted.
You were drafted? Okay. Where were you living at the time?
Lackawanna.
In Lackawanna. Why did you join?
Because Uncle Sam said so.
Okay.
That's what drafting is, it's
Okay.
non-joining.
Why did you pick the service branch you joined?
You
didn't
don't.
pick?
When you're drafted, they tell you where you're going.
Okay.
Usually the Army. But you could go off to different services.
Okay. Do you remember the first days of service?
Like basic training?
Yes.
Yeah, I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And I was in the infantry from day one, so it was all infantry training.
What did it feel like? Was it hard? Was it?
Well, it was in January, so New Jersey's pretty cold in January.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, you camp outside and do all that kinds of stuff. Marching, target shooting, a lot of PT, which is physical training.
Do you remember your instructors at all?
Not really, you're only there for 8 weeks, and you're one of thousands of people, and nobody really impressed me. We had some hometown fellas that I was in the service with, so we pretty well went together that way. Other than that, the instructors are all from different parts of the country.
How did you get through it? Was it just?
Get through it day by day. In our company, there was about 80 men, and you just together you just did what you had to do. It's not extreme or anything like that. You just keep on going. Every day it is a structured training, and you just if you go into the rifle range that day, you do it. You're just away from home. That's the only bad thing. But I was a little bit older than a lot of the guys that were there from different circumstances. Many were just 18 and 19. I was in my 20s already.
Was it like physically hard?
Yeah, yeah. You lose a lot of your excess weight and turn it into muscle because it's a matter of packing 20 and 30 pound packs all day on your marches and runs, and they're basically training you to go fight. So everybody becomes physically fit.
Where were you stationed?
That was Fort Dix, New Jersey, and then went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, which is a jungle training school.
A jungle training?
Jungle training, yes, because we were from day one. They were telling us we're going to Vietnam.
And what kind of stuff did you do there?
A lot of the same stuff we did, but under jungle conditions, because Louisiana was quite warm by then. It was May and June, and the swamps and the bugs and all that kinds of stuff was the same as you would encounter in Vietnam.
Do you remember arriving and what it was like?
Yeah, we came in on an airplane into some little pasture airfield in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knew where Fort Polk, Louisiana was, that I was from, and it is in the middle of the wilderness of Louisiana. Very lonely because you don't know anyone there and you don't know where you are.
Okay. What was your assignment?
In Fort Polk, or as once I went to Vietnam?
In Fort Polk and.
In Fort Polk, we're in training. I ended up being a company quartermaster while there because I was one of the older fellas. We took care of the equipment, our rifles, M16s, 45s, gas masks, things like that. And it was basically, I was a squad leader there, so that puts 8 men under you. And your daily assignments were basically war tactics without the war.
Did you see combat?
Yes.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
Yes, there were.
What are your most memorable experiences?
Vietnam-wise, the minute you get there, you think about coming home. So whenever you got a letter from somebody, they pretty much gets to you anyways.
Did you get a lot of letters?
Yeah, well, I was there. I mean, family support was real good. Some guys didn't have it, and it made it tougher for them to be there.
Were you a prisoner of war?
No. There wasn't too much of that in Vietnam. There was some, but not a lot. Not like World War II, where they would capture a lot of people.
Did you get any awards or medals?
Yeah, I got a Bronze Star for heroism. Yeah, Bronze Star for military service. A Purple Heart.
What is the Purple Heart?
For being wounded.
Okay. Where were you wounded?
In my side was a shrapnel wound from mortar fire.
How did you stay in touch with your family through the letters?
Yeah, letters, and back then we had small cassette tape recorders that we would send the tapes back and forth to each other, which was nice because you'd hear the real voices of your family.
Mm-hmm. What was the food like?
When we were in base, it was pretty good food. But we were in the field quite a bit, so we ate sea rations twice a day. And then we had a meal delivered to us by helicopter each day, our evening meal. And sea rations are just canned food.
What kind of food was it?
Oh, you had, for breakfast, you had scrambled eggs and ham, if you can imagine that out of a can. Not a favorite, but it was food. But they had stews and different kinds of chicken soup and vegetable soups, and you had fruit cocktail, peaches, pears, and they had a pound cake. It used to come in a little can, like a tuna fish sized can, and the guys would save up their fruit cocktails so that when they did, because on different meals you got different items, and they would save that up, and they'd be like their treat. They would put their fruit cocktail on their pound cake, and that was like the big thing of the day, you know. So it was cold was something you didn't get much of Vietnam. Everything came warm. Your beer came warm, your pop came warm, everything came warm. So
When you were
that's
out
kind of a
on
treat.
assignment, like in the jungle and stuff, did you carry all your food with you? Did you have to
we
in cans?
we basically went in and out each day by helicopter. We were like what they call aerial assault, or like a cavalry type unit. So when we went out in the morning, we took 2 meals with us, and we were intended to be in back at night into some kind of a camp, a secure camp, where we would get our hot meal delivered to us. But there were occasions when you didn't, you get stuck with this more sea rations, which they would resupply us. In the evening, the helicopter would come in and drop more sea rations for us for the night, water, ammunition, stuff like that.
Okay. Did you feel pressure or stress
Every day.
every day?
Every day. You walk in the jungle, you're always worried about an ambush, booby traps, which we encountered pretty much every time we went out. And there was one stretch, we were out for 87 days, and that got to be pretty stressful. You lose reality. You're living in a foxhole or a bunker or just under a tree, and it's just rainy weathers. And
Was there something that you did for good luck?
well, I wear a medal, which I think saved me once. This one here. This one here. A friend of mine sent it to me. And when I was reading that letter that he gave me, it was when I ended up getting wounded. But a couple of my friends got killed at that time. I just happened to be in the right place because I jumped into a foxhole to read that letter. And that's when we were attacked. So I carried that the rest of the time I was there. I'm here now.
How did people entertain themselves during this stressful time?
Radios, card games. Some guys would play football, makeshift baseball. It just depended where you were. Sometimes you came in, you were just so tired, and you knew you had to pull a guard duty at night, so you didn't. Entertainment was going to sleep. If you could catch a couple hours straight, that would be nice. There were many days we didn't get a couple hours of sleep.
What kind of card games did you play?
Oh, whatever they could think of. It fished, old maid, anything you could get a hold of, people would send you cards, you know, and say, hey, look what I got, it's a new game, you know, checkers, anything that could be mailed to you. Poker was played for some money, not much. You know, it was always friendly games.
What did you do when you were on leave?
I didn't get any leave. Well, I went to R&R in Hong Kong. They fly you out, and that was a weird situation because one day you'd be in combat, next day you'd be sitting in Hong Kong. It was a matter of about 15 hours of travel time, and you'd be there. So we always called it the real world. You'd just jump out of one into the other. And the day you get back, you'd be back in the jungle again. Your plane would drop you off at a helicopter pad. The helicopter pad would pick you up and put you right back in the jungle. So you went from the city of Hong Kong, which was a big, modern, bustling city, right back into the jungle again. It was like, you had to sit there and think about it for a while.
Was it hard for a lot of men to go through different
Yeah,
things?
there were a lot of people didn't come back. You know, they wanted, they'd get a sense of the real world again and sneak off. You got a lot of, some would come back, some would be gone for a month, you know, and come back again, realize the trouble they're gonna be in. And some just went back home.
Did any of your friends do that? No one?
We had one guy that used to always take off for Saigon. We'd have to go get him. Saigon was a little different story at the time. It was a city, and there were combat positions out there around there and problems war-wise, but it was a bit of reality back to people, so they would run off again.
Do you remember any particularly humorous events or?
Oh, there's a lot of them and things. I got dropped out of a helicopter one time, and the helicopter came and landed on me. And luckily, we were in a swamp, so it didn't break me or nothing. But you know, you laugh about things like that. It's silly situations. I wouldn't say it's comical, but you just think about what happened and you start laughing. You know? I mean, different things like that. You can be riding in a Jeep or something, and you fall out of it or something. You know what I mean?
That happened a lot.
Well, different things. Yeah, you'd be going along, and the road would be bumpy or something. Next thing you know, you'd be laying on it. You wouldn't be going fast because the convoys only move about 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. So it's just different things. And a lot of times your weight of your pack would be so heavy, you'd like sit back and just roll backwards like a turtle, you know, and say, oh, geez, you know. So different things like that would happen.
Did you guys ever pull pranks on one another?
Yeah, practical jokes, stuff like that, you know.
What kind of stuff?
Oh, stuff you can't talk about, I guess. things guys do, you know.
Yeah.
You know, hide things on them and, you know, misplacing stuff and things like that.
Was it all very light humor? Did some people take it seriously, or?
Well,
just
it
a
depends what
stressful-
kind of day you had. You know, one day you could do something to somebody and it's just a joke, and the next day you do something to somebody and it's a fist fight. You know, it just depends. The letter from home maybe that came in that day, or just what you did that day.
You said you have photographs too, right?
I just had one of myself and one of the bunkers that I lived in, yeah. I have a lot of photos at home. It's just stuff that, you know, campsites and convoys and a lot of Vietnamese kids and that used to be on the street and stuff like that.
Did you create any strong relationships with any of those?
There were a couple of guys that we wrote letters for about a year or so afterwards, but after that you break away. One guy was in Texas, one guy was in Oklahoma, so it's not anybody you get to see. They went off and had families, and I went off and had my family, so you just kind of separate after that.
Let's see. Did you keep a personal diary at all, or a journal?
At first I did when I was in basic training, but when you're in the jungle, it's just too much. Just trying to keep it dry is one thing. You're wet all the time.
Do you recall the day the war ended?
I was not in the service anymore because it ended in the 70s. Yeah, I do. It was in the papers and the news, so, you know, I felt semi-good. Vietnam didn't really end well, but, yeah, at least it was over.
Where were you at this time?
I was home in Buffalo,
Yeah.
or in Lackawanna.
What did you do, like, when you got home for the few days that you got home?
I partied.
Weeks after you
I had 3
partied?
parties right in a row, welcome home parties for myself, and then my family was running. People couldn't make the one party, came to the next party, so.
Did you work when you got home, or did you?
Yeah, I was working at the Bethlehem Steel Plant before I went into service, and I went back to work there again as an electrician.
Was your education supported by the GI Bill?
No, I only went to high school. After that, I didn't go back, because I was trained as an electrician in high school, and I'm still an electrician here.
Okay.
How long were you in the war for?
You go to Vietnam for 1 year, and I was there for a couple of days extra, so that I could get out of the service. When I went into Vietnam, if you had less than 90 days, when it was over, you'd get out. And it was causing a lot of problems with the guys. They had to get into fights and get their ranks reduced, and some would end up in jail and stuff like that. So they changed it to 5 months, which was a lot closer to what most people had left when they got out of Vietnam. Because when you get drafted, you go for 2 years. So you had 8 weeks of training at basic, 8 weeks of training in AIT, which is Advanced Infantry Training, or individual training. And you get some leave, and then you go over for a year, and you had about that time left. So if you had less than 90 days, you could get out. So I extended my service in Vietnam by 3 days, which allowed me to get out as soon as I got home, which was another weird feeling, because the day you hit California, 6 hours later, you're a civilian. And you could be in the jungle the night before. Fast transition.
Was it hard for you the first couple of nights? You know, even with the partying and enjoying yourself? Was it hard?
Yeah. You think about everybody else that you left behind.
Were a lot of other guys in your unit sent home too, or did they all stay?
Well, you rotate with the 1 year, so you don't go over as a unit. When you get to
Okay.
Vietnam, the day you get there, they tell you where you're going. And in my case, I went to the 25th Division. And once I got to the 25th Division, they told me where I was going. I was a replacement for a bunch of casualties in this company, and they picked up about 8 or 10 more guys that week, and I just happened to be one of them. There's no unity in Vietnam. You're all kind of individually there. You're in a unit for a year, and then you're out again. So when you got there might be a person with 3 weeks left. You might become friends to him, and in 3 weeks he's going home, because he's already been there a year, but you have a whole 11 months to go yet. Like the war now in Iraq, they've been trying to send them over in units, which is better because everybody knows everybody. But then again, if something happens to somebody, you're a lot closer friends, because a lot of these guys are in the reserves, and they've been in the reserves for years, so they know each other for years and years. So good in a way and bad in a way. I don't know.
Right.
They're trying something different this time.
Did you join a veterans organization?
Yes, I did. I'm a life member at the Colonel Weber Post in Lackawanna. I joined up as soon as I got out, and that was in 1968.
What did you do for your career? Just the electrician?
I'm an
or-
electrician, yeah. I'm an electrician at Orange Park School Systems right now, maintenance department. I was at the Bethlehem Steel for 16 years till they shut down in Lackawanna as an electrician.
Okay. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
I'm sure it has formed some opinions that I have, yeah. being there gives you a little different insight.
In your organization, what kind of activities?
The VFW, they're into, well, they visit the VA because there's a lot of veterans that are pretty lonely up there. They run bingo on Thursdays. The hall itself rents out, so there's guys that are working on the hall and things like that. They have a summer activities. They have a family picnic. The Hamburg Veterinary County has a Veterans Day on Sunday, and they set up a camp there, and along with a lot of the posts from the area, and they march. It's a fundraiser to a lot of organizations that they support.
Do you attend reunions?
No, we really don't have any because of the situation of not being a unit. My unit would have gone back to Schofield Barracks in Hawaii. That's where they're from. I visited there a couple of times, but it's not like you know anybody or anything like that. There's no reaction as a group because of the way you transfer it in and out.
Okay. And how did your service and experiences affect your life?
It would affect my life. Well, it took me away from my life here for 2 years. I was going out with someone at the time. Luckily, we stayed together, but that put that on hold for 2 years. I now have several diseases from Agent Orange in Vietnam, so that's affecting my life on a daily basis. I have leukemia and prostate cancer and diabetes, and they're all related to Agent Orange.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover? Talk about?
No.
I'm sure we have not asked any.
No, they're all
Let's
good
just
questions.
do questions.
You know, you don't know how much you want to get into. There's a lot of gory details you don't like to talk about, stuff like that. But it's good to let people know what's going on. There are different aspects of people that have been in Vietnam. I know some people have been in background, and it's just another day there. You could be in Chicago, or you could be in Saigon. It would be basically the same thing. You're in a big city. Infantry is a whole different story. The Navy might be a different story. So,
Was there one thing that brought you through it all? Was there something like a goal or?
well, your
Was that
family is always what you
girl or-
think about. You think about home, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever it might be at the time. From the day, like I said, the day you get there, you talk about going home. Because we knew that in 1 year we would be going home, unlike Iraq guys now. Some of their extended, they've been there 2 years. Some come home for several months and go right back again. So it's a more extended thing. World War II, you went over and you stayed over for 2, 3 years, 4 years. Guys were gone, so it was a different situation. In a way, the year was nice to know that you would be home a year. It was a congressional order that you would be there for 1 year only.
So, you had your training for 8 weeks, then you had the AIT for 8 weeks, and then you had some leave. And then
No, I didn't get any leave. I went straight over to
you went straight
Vietnam.
there. And then you went to the 25th Division,
Yes.
and you just stayed there. Is that?
Yeah, that's your division. You're in a battalion, in a company, and all that stuff. There's several brigades. There was the 25th Division was in a couple of different places in Vietnam. I was in Cu Chi, Tay Ninh, and Saigon. But you'd move around. You'd stay with your unit wherever you would go. They'd give you different assignments. 1 minute you'd be in the Delta region. Next minute you'd be at a Cambodian border protecting a highway or something, or running a convoy. And then we were in the Tet Offensive in Saigon. We were involved in security around Benoit Airport and Saigon Airport.
So you had a lot of different jobs.
Yeah, basically you're an infantry person. Yeah, I was a radio operator. Used to call in airstrikes and requisitions, resupplies and stuff like that.
Any questions? No. Just because my cousin's in the war right now.
It's not fun. Hong Kong was fun, but, you know, actual reality. So where's he at? Where's he at?
Well, he was over in Iraq, and then they sent him to Korea, and my cousin Heather, she ripped out the shoulder, or all her muscles in her shoulders when she was over there, and she got a discharge, medical discharge, so she's home right now.
There's a lot of accidents that happen. It's not anything that wouldn't happen at home either. You could fall off a ladder or something too, you know.
Right.
All that stuff's going on, so. But they put you in harm's way being there.
Yeah.
Not good.
Can you get a medical discharge when you were in Vietnam, or was it?
Yeah, we've had guys that broke a leg and couldn't walk anymore, so you really wouldn't want them in there anymore. We had guys that were on hold, what do you call a medical hold, out of basic, who had different problems. One guy had a broken ankle or a broken heel, and they didn't get that okay till he was about 2 days from shipping out to Vietnam, and he got discharged because it wasn't something that could be fixed in an infantry soldier.
Did any guys like purposely break their ankle or?
I don't know,
sprain it?
you could maybe guess so, yeah, there was always stories about how some things happened, but there were actual stories where a person would shoot themselves in the foot or something. You figure, you know,
Wow.
better to lose a toe than to go to Vietnam or
Yeah.
something like that, but nothing that I ever knew about. These are stories you read in the paper, and I'm sure out of thousands and thousands of people, someone might decide that that's the way to go, I don't know. I didn't go that way. Maybe it would have been better.
Mhm. Since you were drafted, did you have a different attitude towards it, or was it still, I want to fight for my country?
Technically, drafting was my choice. When I was in high school, in my senior year, I took all the exams to go into the Air Force, which would have been 4 years. Basically, you owe 6 years of military service to the country with the draft. And if you go in for 4, then you have 2 in the reserves. I went in for 2. I had 2 in what they call inactive reserves. They put me in a reserve unit in Minnesota, I believe, which I didn't have to go to any meetings. It's just inactive reserves. Then you have 2 more years, but technically you have a 6-year obligation. And for some reason, at the end of my high school days, I just didn't go. I was like 1 day away from leaving for the Air Force. I decided not to. That was in 1963. Then I got drafted in 65, and I ended up cutting a tree the day before I was supposed to leave for the service, and I got deferred for 2 years. So I finally ended up going in 67. And by then I just decided that the 2 years would be the quickest way to go. 2 years in and 2 years out, and I'm done. So it was basically my decision, because the draft was looming over me for several years, so I had the choice of joining, but that's the way I went. I think I'm glad I went that way. It's hard to say. You know, when you look at another story, you say, well, what could have been? You know, you're always guessing of your life, what could have been if I did this, and you know, what if I took a different course in high school, or you know, things like that. I mean, you know yourselves, people are going to do one thing and suddenly they aren't doing it. You know, a different life. You take one course in school and you don't do that in your life. College or whatever, you gotta go to school for 4 years in college, and the day you get out, you got a job doing something totally different. You don't know, it's unexpected. So.
Were a lot of men bitter, or did they want to fight? Or
No, I think once you get there, you form a brotherhood that you're there for yourselves, to keep yourselves alive, and you don't have time to think about it, I guess, maybe. A lot of people wouldn't mention it if they did, I suppose, because you had a sort of a patriotism kind of thing in your heart, and that's where you go.
Anything? That's it. Thank you very much.
We're done.
Oh, okay.